Thank you so much for the kind invitation. I will just go straight into the topic that's been assigned to me. And I think all of you know that, the world changes very fast, and our profession, being the creators of the cities of the future and buildings of the future and ideas of the future, we need to be always at the forefront. I think the age of IT and technology has come and gone. In the old days, one disruption takes almost 1,000 years, like when they invented the printing press. And then Industrial Revolution, it was about 100 years. Today, DeepSeek put out something, and 2 days later, Alibaba said they are better. We are in the age of disruption now. And for architects, unfortunately, we have to be in the forefront because we have to think ahead. And the drawings you're doing in your office, you won't see the buildings sometimes until almost 20 years later. And those who do master planning, you know for sure you'll never see it until maybe even 30 years, 40 years later. So we are at the forefront, ahead of anyone else, I dare say, and definitely ahead of our politicians. Okay, they only look to the next election. We look to the future of our nation, and we are nation builders. I think in 2007, the Malaysian building industry, the entire industry, we had a major disruption. And it was powered by a whole group of people who wanted to bring change. I'm sure some of you are from local authorities. I see a lot of young people, which is good. This looks like ancient history, okay? But I do see some old dinosaurs here who can remember further back than this. But in 2007, Malaysian building industry had a major disruption. And it was driven a lot by even the architects. We changed numerous acts, and we took the CFO, Certificate for Occupancy, and we gave the power back to self-certification, which was we gave it back to professionals like you and me. That was a major disruption in the whole, we've never seen that before. And in the whole world today, that still stands as a very unique occurrence. There are very few countries, I need to put the setting right, then you understand why the stakeholder thing and all this came about. There are very few countries today where the architect or the engineer, as the principal submitting person, still carries enormous responsibility. And today, the interior designers also want that responsibility. I don't know why. And then we got technologies that's roped in, which are inspector of works also now roped in the new, CCC G forms. So we are a very regulated industry. There are very few countries in the world, and the countries that most of us trained in, for example, Australia and UK, it's been totally deregulated. The local authority takes responsibility when they approve a plan. So you find in Australia, a registered builder can submit plans. In UK, a registered builder can submit plans. And that's exactly what happened in the Grenfell fire. So those are deregulated countries. But in Malaysia, your signature as an architect, when you certify stage claim for your developer, who's your client, sometimes you look at the figure. I know it's only a tick, completed. It's a good thing you don't put the figure, because when you see the figure you are releasing, your hand will shake when you sign it. Sometimes it can be $50 million. When you sign a certificate of payment that the bank releases, the bank officer, we argued with this before many years and they still stand by it. It can be fought in court and you will win. The architect's signature alone, the bank is obligated to release that little tick you put there, completed, 10%, 15%, whatever it is, and you sign. It has no figure on it as to what the 10% is. But I will encourage you all to know the severity of your responsibility. If you just do a quick calculation, it's 100 million GDV, 10% is 10 million. Okay? One signature, I think your salary never reached 10 million in one signature. But that is how powerful you are with one signature. And people take it frivolously today. I see we are debating today about digital signatures and all this. Please think about the figure, think about your responsibility. The bank officer sees your name on it, he releases the money. Okay, so with great power comes great responsibility. I'll go straight into the, the stakeholder thing. I hope you can see from right at the back. In June 2004, the Prime Minister called this Tun Ahmad Badawi. It goes back 20 years. The PAM president at the time was Paul Lai Chu. I think LAM president was Puan Norisa. And in 2004, the Prime Minister called for the replacement of the issuance of the Certificate of Fitness Occupation by the local authorities with certification by professionals. The intention was to improve the efficiency of the building delivery system. The concept of LAM acting as a stakeholder for the architect's fees came with the introduction of the Certificate of Completion and Compliance for all buildings by professionals. I'm just going to read it because I've been reading this for the past 20 years. So I've summarized it and made it as succinct as possible. So if anything else I say, it will not be as succinct as this. Okay. Consumer groups and the Home Buyers Association, HBA, had raised their concern as to the independence of professionals to issue the CCC, not just the CCC, the stage certification, and the potential for conflict of interest as the professionals were paid by their clients, the developers. So what happened was, I think in 2004, could be even earlier, just as Dato Tan Pei Eng was finishing her presidency and Paul Lai Chu was coming in, Tun Ahmad Badawi became the Prime Minister of Malaysia, and he saw that there was a big problem in the delivery system, getting approvals and so on, and he moved it from a CFO regime to a CCC. Dato Tan Pei Eng was in the drafting committee that amended a whole slew of different acts, okay? So everything was ready, and then it was approved in cabinet, and it went to Parliament. And there were questions raised in Parliament at the final stage of approval, around December of that time. And the questions raised was, you're giving all the power. Actually, we already had the power, but suddenly they became aware that the architect is now so powerful, so much more powerful. He even issues the CCC, and they objected. They said that he was in conflict of interest. You'll be controlled by your paymaster. So that time, the Minister of Works was Dato Sri Sami Velu, who's also a registered architect, and God rest his soul. He, without many of you knowing it, you always hear that he always say, it's an act of God. But he was also a real champion of architects, and he was also a friend of a lot of ours. When I was PAM president in 2000, that period of time, I was coming as PAM president, 2005, I got a call from him. So he said that it was stuck in Parliament because of these questions, and how is the architect going to reply to this? Because otherwise, all the work that was being done to amend the acts would be stuck. So the proposal for deposition of architects' fees with an independent third party was seen as an acceptable way to overcome this, whilst also improving the public's perception as to the independence of the professionals. This was based on the premise that professionals will be able to act more independently when the matter of fees and the fee payment from the client is taken out of the equation. This proposal was included in LAM's position paper, as well as in the numerous meetings and presentations made in the development and implementation of CCC. So PAM, after we were notified by the Minister of Works, we convened a meeting in PAM. And PAM has always, in those days, been the think tank of the profession. And I look forward to a day when it starts thinking again. We sat down, and all the senior practitioners, I remember Jerry Sum was there, and we sat down and we looked for a solution. And the solution we were looking at was, in those days, arbitration. PAM was very much involved and still is in arbitration. So when there are two disputing parties, they deposit the money with PAM as a stakeholder. Similarly with LAM. So the whole concept of a stakeholder has already been there, recognized by the industry. So we took that model and we tweaked it and we put it forward through LAM to the Minister of Works. In 2005, the proposal, okay, so not only did we have to do that, by the time I was the PAM president, and BIPC, some of you don't know this, it was the Building Industry President's Council. It was put together by PAM President Dato P. Kasi, and it's a very powerful platform. Don't lose this platform because all the presidents of the building industry gather together and they can discuss issues. Today, we find all kinds of things happening. There's so much confusion with low-cost shops, things in your condominium that's being forced upon to come into condominiums, etc. But in those days, we set it up because then all the presidents of whichever institute it was could come together to discuss and solve problems. So when this proposal was put together by PAM and accepted by LAM, because quite a lot of us were in PAM and LAM, we actually called emergency meeting, BIPC, because the whole CCC could not move forward. And I remember it was just before Puasa, Ramadan, and the meeting was called in PJ Hilton. Okay, and we met there, and everyone agreed to it. Okay, so even Reda agreed to it, and Reda made a statement that work done must be paid. And we came to our understanding, and they said that they are not worried about their members, although we are worried. They said that not all developers are Reda members. Actually, if you do some research, it's less than half. So there are a lot of developers out there who are not Reda members. So they don't actually have the ability to reach out and build, a good base. Okay, so they agreed to it as well, and they supported it. And as well as that, I'll read. In 2005, the proposal was tabled, accepted among members of BIPC, comprising the stakeholders in the building industry, namely all the professional institutions, PAM, IAM, ACM, ISM. In those days was IPDM, the Real Estate and Housing Developers Association, and also the Master Builders Association of Malaysia. In addition, we engaged with Home Buyers Association, and they also accepted it. And I also engaged with, the time there was a very strong consumer interest body from Penang, led by the late, I can't remember his name, but he was a real warrior for protection of rights. And he also supported it, and it was okay. There was thus consensus in industry to implement the deposition of architects' fees via stakeholder. The proposed stakeholder with the necessary authoritative clout to implement this proposal would be LAM. On 28 June 2006, LAM and PAM submitted a memorandum to the Minister of Works, proposing LAM as stakeholder for the architects' fees to be claimed, deposited, and dispersed progressively according to work done. Now, in the early days when we started this, we thought it would be like the arbitration stakeholder, where you ask for a lump sum deposited at the front. But we found that it was very hard to determine what the fee was, and it could lead to disputes. For example, if you are doing projects with developers, you know that the construction cost is quite high. It's like 200-300 million. Your developer, I don't know, he's using the wrong calculator or what. He will tell you it's only 100 million because he wants to keep your fee low. Okay? Or, I don't know, maybe fool the boss or what. Sorry, I know some of you are working for developers, but we still love you. We are Jedi, right? We got special skills. So we moved away from depositing the full amount of fees at the upfront because it could actually lead to dispute, because it could be a shortfall or there could be extra. So what it became was a deposition of fees upon completion of work. Exactly as what Reda said, work done must be paid. So when work done, it has to be paid, then the invoice goes out and the fee comes through to LAM, and LAM will disperse it to you. Okay? In the tabling of the amendment to the Architects Act in Parliament, in December 2006, the Minister of Works brought up the proposal for LAM to act as stakeholder to overcome public perception on the independence of architects and the potential for conflict of interest, especially in the area of certification and the soon-to-be implemented CCC. So the minister supported the amendment to allow this to happen, so we amended our Architects Act first. In early 2007, the Minister of Works announced the ministry's support of the proposal for a deposition architect's fees with a stakeholder and instructed LAM and the Board of Engineers Malaysia to prepare the mechanism for implementation. LAM's meeting in the Board of Engineers was held on 11 January 2007 when it was agreed for a start for LAM to implement the proposal for housing projects. Basically, they said that because housing was the one that affected so many people and it affected the public more, that this mechanism should be for public protection. And they said that it should be made mandatory for housing projects first. It doesn't mean that you cannot use it for non-housing projects. We encourage you, the system can work for all types of projects. And eventually, we are starting to hear from the engineers and other people that they now want to implement it for other projects as well. Okay. CCC came into force in April 12, 2007, and replaces the Certificate of Fitness for Occupation previously issued by the local authorities. LAM at its meeting on 30th August 2007, after the launch, official launch of it, the CCC proceeded to develop and implement the proposal for the deposition architect's fees with a stakeholder. So what happened straight after 2007? In 2008, some of you might recall there was a political tsunami. Our minister lost his seat in Sungai Siput, and it was in limbo for a while. And it was 2 ministers later, under Shaziman, when he came in 2010. So on 28 January 2010, the Minister of Works approved the framework and mechanism for the implementation of deposition architects' fees, initially compulsory for housing projects with LAM acting as stakeholder. PwC Malaysia were appointed to prepare the study and implementation framework for LAM stakeholder fee management system on 28 August 2017. I just, later on, Sarly will be speaking and taking you through the next part of this presentation. I've just given you an overall background of the past 20 years and how it came about, okay? And after that, we'll have Cheang from PwC to show you how the LAM boss system actually works. Yeah. So in 2017, we appointed PwC. LAM felt that it was important that we get the best people in the industry for check and balance, for accounting purposes, for audit purposes, for paper trail purposes, and to make sure that money doesn't get lost, because it is not the board's money, it is holding it as stakeholder. So we proceeded to appoint PwC. In 2019, after the framework was done by PwC, we appointed them for a subsequent package of work. So PwC appointed to develop the stakeholder fee management system, which is today called LAM Boss, and also to provide outsourcing to manage the system. We not only got them to develop the system, and if you look at the system, there will be explained. We actually gave a roadshow to Radar yesterday, and there was no violent objections. They were quite supportive. And I was just saying to Dato Tan Pei Ing when PwC was presenting, and I said that they almost set up a whole banking system for us, as good as the ones you use to pay your salaries and all this. You know, maybe in hindsight, the 20 years was quite good, because in 2004, there was no iPhone. There was no smart device. I think we were all using Motorola's or something. Then, because iPhone came in 2007, WhatsApp that you now communicate and run your projects on site came in 2009, 2010. Those days, we used to sign checks to pay salaries. Today, checks are very rare. You run your whole office almost from passwords. As you get older, it's harder. Write it down on the board somewhere. The system has since been completed and was ready for implementation. On 27 July, there were a lot of, 2018, there was a new government coming in. Then there were 2 other governments after that. And in 2019, that time the minister was Barupian, YB Barupian. The Minister of Works approved the amendment to the architect's rules to make it mandatory for deposition of architect's fees with a stakeholder for projects with LAM acting as the stakeholder. After that, we were made to go to MPC to get a risk assessment. So we went through that, and I want to thank Dato' Izumi, who's not here. He was a great help in putting together the whole submission, and we got it approved very, very quickly, and there's no adverse impact to business, okay? Ministry of Housing and Local Government, KPKT, and Suruhan Jaya Pencegahan Rasuah, SPRM, this was again because of the change of government, also requested for the system to be implemented as soon as possible to protect the interests of house buyers, and they be kept updated on it. So what happened when there was a change of government in 2018, they were in opposition, but they sort of didn't know, I guess, but suddenly they were very surprised that how come the architect and the engineer had so much power. And the board had a visit from SPRM. And they were befuddled, that one signature can release so much payment and give 1,000 units of vacant possession to buyers. And said, who is this Superman? How can the architect be so powerful? Don't forget this, okay, because we also have a very strong disciplinary committee. So they came and we presented to them the stakeholder system, which was supposed to come with the CCC and agreed as part of the whole system. And they said they agreed with that, and they asked us to update them. So since the launch of this thing in December, we have actually written to notify them that it's been launched. So amendment to the architect's rules were approved on 1st October 2022 to give the option for deposition of architect's fees. So those are two forms. I won't go into it. The system can now be implemented, made mandatory for housing projects through the Housing Development and Licensing Act. With effect from 19 August 2024, the Ministry of Housing and Local Government mandates that all applicants for housing developer license must engage ACPs through LAM's stakeholder system for any project initiated after that date. Now, people have asked us why not catch it at APDL, why at developer license? It's because the architect comes in very, very early. By the time you get your APDL, your BP, ciphers, all done already. And the architect has already been appointed and not under this system. So we spoke to KPKT and JPN, and they agreed that the moment a developer gets his developer license, which they usually get quite early, if they intend to do development, because it's also for tax purposes. You cannot buy a land as an asset if you got to put it as for development land straight away. And the developer license is a criteria for that. So straight away, they already signed that they will commit to appoint the architect. It's mandatory under the stakeholder system. Okay. LAM's general circular to all architects and ACPs was issued on 20th December, and road shows, we have done one in PAM, we have done the radar one, and we will continue to do it. Okay. So that's the executive summary of the entire thing, and I just want to highlight a few things while you read that. So far, we have had about 3 projects come in, already registered. So the system is working and it's running, and we anticipate it to be much more after Chinese New Year now. People have asked us, these are like frequently asked questions. If the board is not collecting the money for us, then why need to circulate it through the board and then pay us later? I think you all know that cash flow is the lifeblood of any professional or consultancy. What it does is that when work has been completed, you can invoice for it. When you invoice for it, the money is supposed to be paid in accordance to whatever the agreed, whether it's 28 days, 30 days, 40 days, it has to be paid into LAM's account. The LAM boss system is tweaked in such a way, it's been built in such a way, if the payment is not received within that period, a reminder is sent out, okay? And if still not paid within a certain period, like maybe 14 days, it will send another reminder. And again, a third reminder. Now, all this in your smart devices, or if your accounts department is handling this thing, they will get a notification. Okay, if money is received, you will also get a notification. So basically, after 3 reminders, your client don't want to pay you, it's alarm bells, okay? You cannot just continue to do work because your client has not been able to pay. So you've got 3 options. One is you can suspend your services under the Act. 2, you can terminate your services, but sometimes not so easy. If the construction is already up, the marsh list might not let you come off it. Okay, it's actually in the UBBL. They might not allow you to terminate yourself. You'll be lucky if you can terminate yourself. We have done it before, but it's not so easy. The third one, of course, is you call up your client and say, he also has been notified. You say, oh, boss, why you never pay? Don't call them boss, sorry, my mistake. Why hasn't it been paid? And if it's handled by an accounts department person in the developer office, he can prompt their bosses and say, we have already received our 3rd notification reminder, we haven't paid this. So you got a few options. You can say, do you need to change your payment schedule? Do you want to contra your Rolls Royce? Do you want to, you start to negotiate. At least you know that you've hit a roadblock, okay? There will be a reintroduction of sign-off of work done, meaning that when work is finished according to the Act, you are required to get a sign-off. Now, what it does is that if you end up in dispute, there will be a limit that has been signed off that they have accepted work up to this stage. If they don't sign the sign-off, you're not obligated to move on with your work. So that's your leverage, okay? And it's already been in the Architects Act for years, but we don't practice it. But if you work with Americans, they won't move to the next step until you sign it. And the client signs very fast. So I don't know why they will not sign it for us, okay? So now the system requires that. I just want to also say that it is not a silver bullet. It doesn't solve all the problems out there, but it is a step forward. And the last thing I want to say before I hand over is that we are not a debt collecting agency, okay? We are not going to send our staff to go and collect money for you. This is a system, it's a stakeholder system. When work is completed, signed off, you send the bill, the payment should come in. If it doesn't come in, you get reminders given to the payee. If he still doesn't pay, you should decide what you want to do, okay? So that's basically how the system works. Thank you so much.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you first and foremost to LAM, President, for giving us the challenge, especially my committee, the promotion committee. As the chair, I'm really happy to see that this is a success, and thank you for all the hardworking people who actually made this a success, the LAM staff, and also our convener, Cik Amza. I think a round of applause to him. Okay, onwards to my overview of the LAM board online stakeholder system. Thank you, Doc, for that historical overview. We need to know the foundation of what this is all about, and Doc has given a very good overview. So the first question people always ask, wah, apa tu LAM boss? Not Lamborghini. So it's a short form for LAM board online stakeholder system. And during one of the meetings, it had a double S, but it's too presumptuous to say that the architect is the boss. So to lessen some objection, we took off the S. And another reason is that when people write LAM boss, they always say LAM boss system. So it will be redundant if you have two S. So finally, this is the origin of this name. The fee stakeholder system, the key things is that we have some key objectives that I'll tell you. What are the architect's obligations, reporting and compliance, benefit to stakeholders, and of course some common challenges and best practices. So as Doc mentioned just now, the LAM boss system is a centralized fee management platform managed by Lembaga Architect Malaysia. The main purpose is to ensure transparency and accountability in architecture fee management. I think a lot of people ask, I have no issue with my clients paying me, and even the developers yesterday said that, hey, we always pay our architects. Yes, those who are abiding by the law, have good clients, no issue. But there are a lot out there who are having clients who are not good, and developers who are not good. In fact, yesterday at REDA, we also mentioned that, yeah, majority, some of them are not even REDA members who are actually causing problem. By using this system, there will be more transparency and less disputes. Yeah, at Lembaga, there are a lot of issues when cases come in where architects claim one thing, the clients claim another thing. Then Lembaga does not have the resources to actually check everything, because we are not an investigation agency. Yeah. At the end of the day, these disputes also will help reduce these disputes in things like SIPA and in courts. Mandatory for all housing projects since 19th of August 2024. Architect Circular issued 20 December 2024. System went live 1st January 2024. As mentioned, 3 projects has already in the system registered as to date. Primary housing projects with optional use for other types of development. So you are free to use this system with other projects, commercial projects as well, as long as your client and yourself agree to use the system. So this is a part of the whole digitalization framework and ecosystem for Malaysian housing to improve Malaysian housing. So for those of you who don't know, for developers, they have a system called HIMS, Housing Integrated Management System. And it's accessed by the developer. A lot of the inputs are by the developer, so the developer holds the password and whatnot. And on our side, we have the LAM boss system, the LAM Board Online Stakeholder system, accessed and inputted by the architect. The HIMS system is run by JPN under KPKT, whereas the LAM boss system, as you well know, is run by LAM under KKR. So why is this important is that we wanted, the idea in the future is to create an ecosystem where everything is digitalized and you can track things. So each project will be given a certain serial number. In the future, this serial number will be even translated to your submission. So like, for example, housing project ABC will have a certain serial number. Their submission will have a certain serial number. It will be tracked to OSC system. So all this will have a certain digital signature that is trackable. So if there's any dispute, any issue, any housing buyer issue, it will be easier to resolve. Yeah. I'm sure you have seen this. This has been released on the 20th December 2024. It is the General Circular number 1, 2024. Not much issue with 2024. December Circular is still number 1. It's only 3 pages, but it consolidates all the important aspects that the board feels all architects needs to know. I'll go through them one by one. The first one is the introduction. Pursuant to the amendments of the Architect Rules 1996 on the 1st October 2024, the 4th Schedule Part 1, Form B, subparagraph 29(1) C2 provides for the architect's clients to deposit architect's fee with the Board of Architects LAM as stakeholder. With effect of 19 August 2024, the Ministry of Housing and Local Government, KPKT, mandates that all applicants for housing developers licensed developer must engage architectural consultancy practices through LAM stakeholder system as prescribed in paragraph 1.1 above for any new projects initiated after this date. KPKT will notify existing licensed developers to submit this declaration via Jabatan Perubahan Negara Housing Integrated Management System HIMS portal for the project initiated under their existing licenses. So they will make sure through their mechanisms to inform all the developers to use the system. In fact, it started out during the initial phases. When the developers key into the system, they will have to they initially had a statutory declaration that they will need to use the system. But as of December, we had some meetings with REDA and JPN. It has been changed to a promise letter that they will use the system rather than a statutory declaration to make it easier. 2.0, depositing of architect's fee with LAM as stakeholder. With effect of 19th of August 2024, all architect's fee for the project governed under the Housing Development Control and Licensing Act, HDA 1966 X 118, shall be deposited with LAM as stakeholder. Architects shall ensure that appointment by licensed developers for the architectural consultancy practice is as per the Memorandum of Agreement in the 4th Schedule Part 1, Form B, Subparagraph 29, 1C2 of Architects Rules 1996. The scope of work, fees, agreed schedule of payment, if none stated, shall be in accordance with the Schedule of Basic Architectural Service as outlined in the Architect Scale of Minimum Fees Rules 2010. So this is to give some freedom. The system, as I think Dr. Tan mentioned just now, is very flexible. We'll show the schedule later. Architect's fees is in relation to the client's project shall include all supplementary services, additional services as defined under the Architect's Scale of Minimum Fee Rules 2010. Upon its appointment, the ACP shall register the project with LAM's online stakeholder system, LAM-BOSS system, at lam-boss.gov.my. Each registered project shall be assigned a registration number. So you can also, even if you don't have any housing projects, you can go into the system, you can go to this website, and there are videos, manuals there that you can show how to use the system and whatnot. It's already fully online. 2.5, LAM shall impose a management charge of amounting to 0.3% of the architect's fee by way of deducting such fees received, together with the government service tax, if applicable, at the prevailing rate. The ACP is permitted to proceed with its service upon registration with the LAM-BOSS system. Upon completion of each phase of work, as outlined above, the ACP shall obtain the client's written confirmation that the particular phase of work has been completed and accepted by the client. The ACP shall then submit an invoice to the client, who shall then make payment to LAM. The ACP shall then upload the client's written confirmation and invoice to the LAM-BOSS system. So this is word for word what Dr. Tan mentioned just now. Payment shall be made for work done. So once the client has certified that the work is done, the payment will be disbursed by Lembaga. LAM-BOSS system will issue reminders and notices as required upon LAM receiving the client's written confirmation, ACP's invoice and client payment. LAM will release the net amount due to ACP. 2.9, the ACP is required to notify via the LAM-BOSS system of any changes relating to the appointment for architectural services for the project. This includes addition and omission of the scope of work, fee, schedule, or method of payment, project status, appointment status, such as termination of services or suspension of services, etc. So again, it is very, very flexible. This is to accommodate things like if there's a cash flow issue on the part of your client, you have your choice either under the current act, you have a choice either after all the reminders have been sent out, you have the choice to terminate yourself or. But the best is, of course, to avoid dispute, you can negotiate with the client for a different fee schedule. So all this can be accommodated inside the system, yeah. And I said, I think Doc also mentioned contra. Contra is also possible under the system. Upon completing the architectural consultancy services for the project, the ACP shall notify via the LAM-BOSS system of the completion. Information on the LAM-BOSS system is available from the frequently asked questions section available at the lam-boss.gov.my. So we have a FAQ that is consistently growing. So if you have like questions, you can ask. Later on, I'll show you the QR code to ask. And if you go to the website also, there is a link to actually submit questions. All ACPs are required to comply with this directive. Any non-compliance, breach, and contravention will be considered a violation of the General Circular by order of the Board of Architects. So it is mandatory on everyone who are doing housing projects. The key objectives of LAM-BOSS, as I mentioned just now, transparency, centralized management eliminates ambiguity in the payment process, conflict-free certification, ensures that architect can act independently without financial pressures. So it's very clear. I think a lot of times in many cases that LAM has received, ambiguity is one of the key instigators towards conflict, because one party, for example, the architect says the work is being done, but the developer says that, hey, the work is not done in total completion. We don't agree with you and whatnot. So with this, again, the developer cannot say that the work is not done if they have signed that everything is done to their satisfaction. Yeah. So once that form has been uploaded, it is like saying that, oh, this stage has finished, complete, no issues about it. Accountability tracks payments and project milestones systematically. Security protects both architects and developers by ensuring payments are tied to progress of work. Again, we don't want to overcharge or undercharge, is at progress of work. No, not a magic bullet, but to solve all problems, but to start toward a better practice management, practice environment. So when we gave some of the roadshows at PAM, a lot of people thought that this will solve a lot of problems. It's actually a start to make it a better practice environment. And hopefully in the future, we'll improve the system to actually create more better practice environment for all. Yeah. What I mean by better practice environment is that you can actually easily track your projects. If you are a principal in a firm, you can actually have if you have a couple of projects running, you can actually have sub emails that actually have, because each project has its own serial number and its own login. But you can have a master login that you can check all your staff architects, for example, on each of the projects. So you can actually monitor all your projects at once. You don't have to log in 5 times. Yeah, it's similar. Also, there is a sign in for your client. The developer can also log in to monitor how their payment has it been disbursed by LAM and whatnot. So it is a very, very transparent system. At the website, you can download this user guide, which is a PDF that guides you through the system, basically. And I'm sure after this, Cheang will show you a bit of going into the system. There are some videos as well at the website that will show you step by step on how to actually log in and use the system. Architect's obligation, project registration. So very important for architects is to actually register the project. And we have put it on the architect to actually the one that is actually engaging the system. So the client, even though the developers have to fill in their declaration to actually use the system, but the one that actually inputs and interacts with the LAM boss system is the architect. For housing, of course, Form B, subparagraph 29C, a memorandum of agreement between the client and the architect for the architectural consultancy services. This is in the latest change. Yeah, the scope of works, fees, agreed schedule of payment, if non-stated, shall be following the scale of minimum fee. So, if you go into the system, it will be set based on our normal 5 stages. But if you have your own, say for example, some firms, they practice advance payment. So upon appointment, you get 10%. You can put that into the system as well. So all these payment schedules are very, very flexible. Just the form, I'm sure you've seen this. Okay, during the project life cycle, there are a few things that the architect needs to look at. One is change in project scope. Architect to notify LAM of any change in the project scope. So if you have increased
publications out there, it came out with publication.
Does it get reflected? You need to change it so that LAM knows. Final reporting, architects to notify LAM boss upon project completion to close accounts. Dispute resolution, work out with clients and LAM to resolve any payment discrepancies before project closure. So if there are any payment discrepancies,
Nasib suju lah.
None of my children know it.
Nasib suju.
Code and all that. It's very similar to those who are familiar with e-banking. They are, for privacy purposes, is only limited to a very small number of LAM staff and people who will access to this account, because we also are very sensitive to firms who maybe they are too rich, they are very shy to show people their income. Yeah, but the thing is that actually it's very private. There's nobody else that can actually see this except for the people actually managing, which is PwC. Several layers of safeguards and approval layers within LAM to ensure check and balances. So we have at the very first layer PwC, who are our outsourced providers, who are actually looking at checking the raw data. We have LAM staff checking registration data and project correctness. And we have at board level final checkers. And then only then will approval be given. Yeah. Benefit of the stakeholder system. For architects, secure guaranteed payments tied to completion of work. Transparent fee management eliminates clients and disputes. Easy resolution and preempting of project is problematic. I think this is very important. As mentioned, if there is a non-payment, alarm bells will ring, reminders go out automatically. For developers, payments linked to verified work progress simplifies fee tracking and management. It's the same for the developer. If a developer uses the system, they have several projects, they only need one login code. They login account, so they can monitor all their projects, even if it's handled by different architects. For the public, enhanced trust in architectural certification and CCC promotes professionalism in the industry. So if there is any inquiry from the public about progress and whatnot, lembaga would be very easy to look at progress here, because the stages of work are easily recorded here. So how does an architect's workflow look like? So it's very simple. Step one, inform client of the access him system that they will use LAM boss. So the developer actually needs to, during his either developer's license application, need to actually fill up the letter. But they will fill up because the him system will not allow them to apply for the developer's license if they don't upload the form. So they have to. Secure your appointment as architect, of course. Register project on LAMBOSS. So it's up to you to register on LAMBOSS. Confirm project details and terms with the architect is correct. So the client and the architect needs to get the actual all the project details correct. Ensure client sign off of invoices, and after the project is running, ensure that client sign off of invoices and documentation for completed work stages. So every stage there needs to be a sign off so that the client agrees that this is done, and only then will it be paid. So after it's signed off, the client deposits relevant payments to LAM. LAM verifies, that's where the checking comes in, verifies and disburses payment to the architect. And it's just continuously repeat the above steps accordingly. Notify project completion and close accounts on LAM boss. That is after all the stages have been done. So, very simple. Recap, architects play a crucial role in ensuring the success of the stakeholder fee system, even though, the architects play an important role, even though the stakeholder system is supposed to be with the client. The architect is the main player. The call to action, embrace the LAM boss system for improved transparency. So I know not every day you get a new project, but even if you don't get a new project today, please do visit the website and try to log in, create an account. There's no issue, and look at how to use the system to familiarize yourself, or get your accountant or your finance side to actually do it. I think if everybody supports this can be a great basis for us to move forward, as I mentioned just now, to a more digital and trackable information ecosystem. This ecosystem will include in the future trackable numbers for submission and OSC submissions, and will be linked foreseeably to things like CCC. So for example, your CCC will have that serial number as well. Your submission plan will have that serial number as well. So everyone knows that, oh, project XYZ is this serial number. So that is the future that we are looking to move towards. And this is the first step. So hopefully everyone supports it. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us in today's LAM's Town Hall. It's a very nice event and venue. As Sarly rightly mentioned, that the LAM boss system is to improve transparency and accountability. We can definitely relate this to PwC, as our purpose is also to build trust in society and solve important problems. Just a brief introduction. So at PwC globally, we draw the collective skills and experience of more than 370,000 people across our network firms in 143 countries. And in Malaysia, PwC employ more than 3,000 people in 7 locations: Kuala Lumpur, Penang, Ipoh, Melaka, Johor Bahru, Labuan, and Kuching. Yep. So people know PwC typically for our accounting services and tax, but we also offer digital services led by our head of digital, Mr. Yap, who is also presented at today's town hall. So LAM boss system is one of the digital solutions we have developed with LAM. Okay, without further ado, let me just jump onto the slide. So the LAM boss system has been developed and designed by PwC to assist LAM in managing ACP fees efficiently. In my presentation, I will take you through the key aspect of the system, features, and its processes. So it will take maybe 15 to 20 minutes. So here we go. When we say the LAM boss system to assist LAM, it will essentially manage 4 key processes. One is project registration, where ACP submits project registration request to LAM, which will officially formalize role as the stakeholder. The second is project revision. So project revision is required when there are changes to the project, such as fees, payment schedules, or even update to ACP or client information like name, address. So needs can be done through submission project revision request to the LAM boss system. And the third one is project claims, where ACP issue an invoice to client. When LAM receiving payment from the client, LAM will then disperse the fee to ACP after deducting the minimum charge. The fourth one is project completion, where ACP submit the project completion and final invoice to LAM, and same thing once the final payment is made and fees is being dispersed to ACP after deducting the management fee, the project is then closed in LAM boss system. These are the 4 essential processes that being managed by LAM boss system. On top of that, who is going to the key users of the LAM boss system? There are 4. One is, of course, the ACP. So ACP is the main user responsible for submitting project registration, revision, and also claims. So the second group of user is actually the clients or the developer, where they can log into the LAM boss system. As Sarly rightly said, they can view their projects, their claim history, and so forth. And the third user is LAM, who can overview the whole system, being the administrator, can view the projects, and responsible for approving the project and claim in the system. So they are actually the fourth user, which is LAM outsourcing system managed by PwC. So the PwC team responsible for review and checking when there is a request being submitted to LAM boss system to ensure that the data is being correctly entered into the system and the right document is being uploaded in the system as well. So the outsourcing team, they are actually from PwC Malaysia team, and they have to do this review preparer based on the standard operating procedure and being designed. Then there is also have a governance and framework they have to follow. So this is under operating model that the outsourcing module have to go through. So with these 4 processes and user, the system should streamline operation and enhance transparency, also improve tracking, and provide a secure and structured framework for LAM to manage stakeholder efficiently. So to support LAM and achieve its goals, the LAM boss system is built with several useful features. So for this session, I will just cover 7 of it. First one is seamless access. So essentially, LAM boss system is a website, and it is friendly to mobile devices as well, which means that you can just put in the address, access the website through your laptop, your devices, the tablet, or your even your mobile iPhone, you can access to it. Second, as a real-time notification, the LAM boss system will send real-time notification to relevant stakeholders regarding project updates to enhance transparency and accountability. So the notification is sent through email and it is real-time. Third, comprehensive audit trail. The system is built with the capability to keep track and record all changes being done in the system. And this audit trail is being kept in the system database and is able to view and being extracted out. Fourth, data privacy and role-based access. So each user have their specific role access, ensuring they can only access and view the features in the system and also data that is relevant to them. Fifth is project passcode for security. Each project registered in LAM boss is assigned a unique project passcode, ensuring that only authorized SCP personnel can access the relevant data. Six, enhanced security with OTP. So for critical actions, such as password changes, project revision, ACP must enter on-time password, OTP, sent by LAM boss to complete the process. This is very important because to ensure that the project revision is being done by the correct person who really own the OTP is being registered in the system. And the last is also critical, which is the hosting, where is the application is being hosted and the data is stored. So it is being hosted in Microsoft Azure, where the physical data center is based in Singapore, and the infrastructure and security is being managed by PwC team. Yeah. So those are the 7 features that being designed and thoughtfully go through to build the LAM boss system in order to support LAM for stakeholder fees. So for the following sessions, I will go through the key 4 processes with more details. So I mentioned just now, the first process is project registration. So during project registration, ACP can go log into a LAM boss system to key in key information about the project, such as the ACP information, architect, client details, payment schedule, and submit the form to LAM for approval. So once this information is being entered into the system, you can actually just click a button or sort to print out the form with the information already populated and get ACP and client to sign, then can submit to LAM for approval. So as you can see, on your left, there is this schedule type. So that is actually the payment schedule. So by default, when you create a project in the LAM board system, the payment schedule will be based on architect scale of minimum fees. But this can be customized based on your agreement with your client. You can actually modify this. So this provides some flexibility to our ACP so that you can customize it. And the next one is project revision. Okay, so project revision is required when there is a change of project information, and this can be done via ACP, log into LAM board system to enter the changes directly. Okay, so as you can see, maybe this is not very clear. For the professional fees, they are highlighted in yellow color, 200,000. So this is actually the changes. When there are changes being made on project in revision, it will actually highlight in the system so you can recognize the changes. Once this is done, ACP will receive OTP, enter the OTP, and submit to LAM for approval, just to approve the revision. And all these record changes will be kept track in the system, including the document. So it's being well kept in one place in LAM board system. The third process is project claims. This is where after ACP, upon the render of ACP services, ACP will then issue invoice to the client. And upon receive payment from client, then LAM will disperse the payment to ACP after deducting the management charge. So as you can see from your, this is from your right, they are the screen for the project claim page, and there are little boxes, or we call it tiles. It provides a simple dashboard summary of what are the total invoice for the project, total amount received, total amount outstanding, management total charges, total amount paid to ACP. That is a high-level dashboard or tiles for you to look at what happened in the project. And beneath that, there are some invoices, payment to it. Those are actually the details. So you can look at the high level on the dashboard, or you can drill down to look at the detail. Yeah. So for the next slide, I'll just go through a quick project claims workflow. So it started with invoice issued by ACP, and there are sign-off form where ACP can download the sign-off form from the LAM board system. Upon getting the signatory from LAM and from ACP and client, then you can upload both to LAM board system. So LAM preparer and reviewer, which is also the outsourcing team, will then review the invoice and the sign-off form within 4 working days. So as I mentioned previously, the LAM outsourcing team, they are actually have to follow the standard operating procedure and the policy and guideline framework in order to go through the process. Once this is done, it will then go to LAM for approval for the invoice. While the next step is the payment. After client made the payment, ACP have to upload proof of payment, upload to LAM board system. Again, the outsourcing team will have to go through the review process to ensure that it is the right information being sent out, and then LAM approval will approve. Then the charges, the payment will be dispersed back to ACP via bank transfer within 5 working days. Okay. And the final part is project completion. To initiate and say that this is completed, ACP can download the project completion form from the system, get ACP and client to sign off, then upload to LAM board system. Same process. After the final payment is being met, then LAM will review, and this project will deem being closed in LAM board system. So this 4 essential process basically is as if like a life cycle where you start with project registration. Along the way, you might have revision, then you have claims. After that, you have project completion. So basically, that is overall the gist of the LAM board system. covering 4 processors with different various type of 4 users with specific role and control in the system, with the limit of access to the role in the system and also the data they can view. And on top of that, you have system, you have people, and we also have standard operating procedure, framework, policy, and governance to ensure that this is operate correctly, because essentially LAM boss will keep the invoice, the data, and also the bank information. Therefore, we need that. And probably the last thing about this is LAM boss system already go live, and there are some projects being registered in the system already. So you can scan this QR code to access to LAM boss system. And as you can see, you will first see the login page, and at the bottom, you will see how to videos, FAQ, user guide, ACP. So even though you don't have project yet, you don't log into the system yet, but you still can check on these resources and material to help understand how LAM boss system works. Yeah. So that's all for me from this presentation. Back to you, Moose.